Quincy Jones, a legend of the music industry who worked with everyone from Frank Sinatra to Michael Jackson, has died at 91. The music titan is probably best known for producing Michael Jackson's hit album Thriller, as well as other hits like Off the Wall and Bad. Jones is credited with reworking Frank Sinatra's Fly Me to the Moon to be a swing rather than a waltz. He also produced We Are the World in 1985 and composed the soundtracks of more than 50 films and TV shows. His publicist says he died last night at his home in Los Angeles. Joining me now to reflect on an absolutely incredible career is Eric Alper. He's a music commentator. Eric, good morning to you. Boy, this man just defines what it means to be a legend. Tell us more about his legacy and his most memorable accomplishments. It's a long list.
Yeah, if all he ever did was work with Michael Jackson for Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad, we would still be talking about him. But the fact is that he helped change music, about 4 or 5 times throughout his 7-decade career, from the time that he was 13 years old, starting to write scores for jazz bands and writing their music charts. He knew that this is what he wanted to do for the rest of his life, and he did exactly that. You showed the clip of USA's for Africa, We Are the World. I mean, there's nobody on the planet that could have handled the sheer amount of artists, the diversity of the artists, and the egos of the artists like Quincy Jones can. But throughout all the 28 Grammy Awards and all the accolades and the induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I'm kind of going to remember him by the fact that he was the first African-American to serve as vice president of a major record label. That would have been Mercury Records back in 1961. And his amount of charitable organizations that he helped run and create, giving back his time, effort, and money to music education across America. It's simply astonishing, the breadth and depth of his career.
Eric, do you know if he talked about the challenges that he faced being a Black man in an industry that may not have been as welcome or opening to him during that time?
He was very well aware of that fact. There wasn't anybody before him who was Black who wrote film scores for white movies that Hollywood would be producing, and he had to fight for that chance despite all of his success. When he landed in television, mostly in the 1970s, writing the film score for Sanford and Son, among others, there wasn't anybody that was Black that was doing that. And then in the 1980s, helping create The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, giving Will Smith his career and skyrocketing that. He was so rare based on where he came from. And his whole book, Q, details a lot about the racism that he felt and that he faced every single day of his life. He was always felt that, other people thought that maybe he wasn't good enough despite all of his record sales and Grammys.
Do you have a favorite piece of music that he produced or had some part in, Eric?
Yeah, I think, Wanna Be Starting Something by Michael Jackson on the Thriller album is just an absolute dance floor filler. I mean, he was so good at creating this dirty bass at the bottom of it, but making it clean enough so that radio could play it, weddings can play it, bar mitzvahs can play it. I mean, look, we're going to be listening to his music and his fingerprint on music for the next 100 years, if not longer than that. He touched on jazz and pop and R&B and soul music, essentially creating pop music as we know it today that we heard on the radio. So I think a lot of artists should give a note of thanks to the genius that was Quincy Jones.
We hear you, Eric. And I think we should all be humming We Are the World for the next couple of days.
I'll do the Bob part. You can do the Cyndi Lauper part.
Okay, or maybe Tina Turner. That's a conversation for another time. Thanks a lot, Eric. Good to see you today. Eric Alper is a music commentator.